Hello everyone, Ian here. In this video I'm going to kind of give a slightly longer rundown of the cube transition from the Maya intro, and I did this as a deep dive at our NAB talk for Autodesk that we did in Las Vegas a couple of months ago, but I went over it very quickly, 3 minutes flat I think, and although given that this is one of my tutorials it's still going to be pretty fast. Anyway, I'm going to take a little bit more time, show you exactly what buttons I clicked, all that kind of thing. So I'm just going to rewind this and play it so you can see what we're going to do. It's this transition at the beginning here. I'll play the whole thing through in case you haven't seen it. This is the new Maya introduction that was done by Ben Black at the Mainframe office. He's a very talented animator. I have to say he's a very talented animator, otherwise he'll never let me beat him at darts again. So yeah, it's this cube transition that we're interested at the beginning. So yeah, let's give it a whirl. Oh, here's a shameless plug. If you want to see our NAB talk that we did, that's on Vimeo on the Autodesk Media and Entertainment page as How Mainframe Uses Maya to Stay Ahead of Motion Graphics. Really catchy title there. So yeah, if you want to see me and Chris embarrassing ourselves in a stage in front of people, you can watch that. It's just basically a history of how MASH came about. Anyway, so here we go. Here is our starter scene, and we've just got a cube here that we've done a poke face on one of the faces and then moved that vertex up into the side, duplicated that, rotated it and scaled it down, and we're done. So that's our base shape. So let's create a MASH network using that, and our distribution type is going to be grid. So using some settings that I memorized, because obviously I was doing this live, 9.75, 9.75, 14, 14. So that gives us a nice grid. I said I was doing this live. I didn't do this live. I just did it so many times that I did it so many times that I remember them. So anyway, here's our grid, and you notice that the first thing that happens in our transition is that the cube starts to smooth and then it flips around to reveal these kind of jaggedy cubes, and at the same time this is cool little ripple, so we're going to do that as well. And yeah, so let's do the flip over first, and I'll just add an offset node to the rotation channel, and then I'm going to put 180 degrees in the Z channel to flip everything over, and then I will create a fall off object. And the fall off object here, as you'll see, is just going to, as I move it out, you'll see everything flips over, and that's pretty cool. So already got a nice effect happening. I'm just going to scale it up so that everything is affected. So when the cube is, so when the fall off object is at 0, everything will be turned over. And then I'm going to group the fall off object. And the reason I'm going to group the fall off object is because I'm going to animate two at once. So I'm just going to call this fall off mover, another catchy name. And I'm going to, well, so the scale is 15, 5, 15, 5, 15, 5. Let's make a note of that. And then we're going to do the ripple now. So let's just add an offset node to the position channel. And then I'm just going to move this up slightly, say 1, scene unit. And then I'm going to create another fall off object. And then as you can see, when I move the fall off object out, you see that we have our objects move down. So when the fall off object's here, our objects are up, and we may, what we want to happen is our objects to go up and then for them to go down again as our fall off object reaches the center. So that's really easy to do. What we just need to do is have a play with the fall off ramp on our fall off object. So let's do that. Let's just change the interpolation type to smooth on our fall off node's fall off ramp, and then what we'll do is we will put a bell curve on it. So we're just going to add another point in the center and make that smooth. So when I parent this fall off object to the mover, and then I grab the mover and get it out of the way, you'll see that our objects flip over. Oh, did I do the wrong fall off object? I think I did the wrong fall off object. Well, that's live TV for you. Let's go in here and let's get rid of the rotation one. I didn't want that at all. I want that one to be linear. I want to go into this one. So this is our position one. It would help if I read the actual name of the fall off object. So let's just change that to smooth, and then we'll just do that. And then when I move the fall off mover, we'll have our objects flip over and they will do this ripple. Really cool. When you know which buttons to press. So there you go. So there's our kind of transition. So I will do a keyframe at frame, say 0 here, and then on frame 55, I will move this out the way. Cool. So our animation looks like, instead of keyframe, it helps. Our animation looks like this so far, which is great. So the next stage is to wipe all these things out. So frame 55, let's add a mute node. So mute node to the scale channel, and then we will add a fall off object to this. So we just go create fall off object, and you see that the fall off object, when it's over the objects, they have their scale zeroed out, because that's what the mute node does. It just kills everything that's in that channel. So let's set a keyframe here at, say, frame 70 and keyframe, and then on frame 55 let's move this out, so like so, and then set a keyframe there. So, ooh, not a set driven key, a keyframe, so set key. So now when I play this back, we have the ripple and the flip over, and then they all turn to nothing. Cool, so let's grab our completed, well actually let's hide all these fall off objects because we don't need to see them anymore. Let's grab our mesh, so our output mesh here, and then let's whop it inside another mesh network. So the reason that we're doing this is because obviously our animation here was of a cube, so we were going to stamp our animation onto the surfaces of a cube here. So let's do that. I've got a cube, and I'm going to just drag that onto the second mesh network's distribute node into the input mesh slot. So let's do that, and then I'm going to change the mode from scatter to face center. So it's going to put one of the original mesh networks is going to get stamped on every face of the cube. So even though we have a number of points set to 10, and there are 6 faces on a cube, mesh knows to obviously clamp the number of points to 6, so that you don't get any duplications. So if I just play this back now, you'll see that we've got this cool effect. So already got 6 times the complexity for almost 0 effort. So there you go. I'm just going to turn off the original proxy cube here because it is not needed, and then we're nearly done. The last thing that we need to do is to grab our second mesh network, and I'm going to add a transform node, and the transform node is how you move mesh networks around. So there you go. You can basically rotate and do all sorts to mesh networks, so scale them, or if you want to scale the points, you can do that. Yep. So it's pretty. Yep. Anyway, or let's just reset all of this. I'm gonna create basically a controller null, and the controller null is just a null in the world that, if I hit 4, you'll see that it's actually just a locator, and that just allows us to move and rotate and scale the mesh network if you want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this transform null, and I'm going to basically, over here I have a null that's got some rotation animated onto it, and I'm going to grab our intro spin cube, and then I'm going to grab our transform locator, and I'm going to constrain them. And so the selection order there is master slave, so you go constrain and you go parent constraint like so, and then there you go. Hold on. There's a mistake I've made. You need to go parent constraint, but go to the option box and uncheck maintain offset. If I do a reset, does that on by default? Yeah, so just uncheck that. Make sure maintain offset is turned off, and then when you add it, your mesh network will snap to the to that locator. And then when I play this back, there you go. Here is our cube animation from the beginning of from the beginning of the Maya intro. So cool. And then of course, because this is mesh, if you want to adjust some of the keyframes, like say that we want the fading out of the scale of these cubes to take place over a longer period of time, we can just extend our keyframes on our fall off objects, and then when we play it back, obviously all of this is just goes straight through to the other network. So that is the beauty of working with mesh. Anyway, so slightly long-winded, and I've probably overcomplicated that quite a lot by going wrong a couple of times. But you know, it's good to go wrong, because then I can show you how to escape from going wrong. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that one, and I'll be back with another video soon.